A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "As the Father loves me, so I also love you. Remain in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you, and your joy might be complete. This is my commandment: love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I no longer call you slaves, because a slave does not know what his master is doing. I have called you friends, because I have told you everything I have heard from my Father. It was not you who chose me, but I who chose you, and appointed you to go and bear fruit that will remain. So whatever you ask of the Father in my name, he may give you. This is my commandment, that you love one another." Love. Love. Today's readings get to the heart of the matter. Love. Where does love come from? How do we transmit it? How does a beloved receive it? Some say that love is merely an evolutionary process of hormones and chemicals produced by human bodies to ensure propagation of the human species and to reinforce social bonds for protection. I'm relatively sure most of us don't think of love this way. The Hebrew scriptures tell us marvelous stories about God's selection and support of a group of humans to be God's own. Throughout the Hebrew scriptures, God time and again assures Israel God's special love for them. They are the chosen people, but there's a catch. They are to be the light to the nations. Why is it so hard to know God's love? People have been trying for millennia to try to figure out what God's love is about, how it affects them, what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to respond. For me, the question is why can't I let God love me? This, I think, is my greatest sin. I know intellectually God is love, but just to be with God, asking nothing of God, saying nothing to God, just being with God is one of the most difficult things I've ever done. Jesus tells us to love one another, to remain in his love, and to let whatever fruit of that love remain. And that's the gift that he leaves us. And I think he leaves us that gift in the gift of the Holy Spirit. In today's first reading from Acts, Peter talks to, he goes and he has a vision. And it's a very obscure vision where a sheep comes down and there are a whole bunch of four-legged animals on the sheep. And God tells him to take and eat. And of course, being a good Jewish man, he's not going to do that. And so he says, it's forbidden. And then finally God says to him, What is forbidden is for me to decide. What I call sacred, you are not called profane. And at about the same time, there was a man, a centurion, Roman centurion, named Cornelius, who had an interesting vision. And he was told to send some people and invite Peter to his house. Well, not only is he a Roman soldier, the person who is oppressing the people, they have occupied their territory, but he's also not a Jew. And how can he go and be with Cornelius and his family at his house as a Jewish man? It was unheard of. And if you really did do it, it was, you lost a lot of esteem in the community. So what is Peter to do? But it's by the gift of the Holy Spirit that both men move beyond what they normally would do. The Holy Spirit sends Peter and sends Cornelius, and the two men break the rules, but also diminish differences, lessen the hatred, and start to see each other as human beings. This is what I think is just amazing, is that they changed their way of doing things to be more than they could be apart, so that they could join together. Reading today's gospel, I have a tremendous fascination about how the gospel were written. They were written in a time of unrest. They were just the opposite of what we would expect. We'd expect a warlike manifesto about how these people occupy and they hurt people, and the Jewish people are suppressed. And that's not what came out of the Gospels. The Gospels are about loving and caring for one another. So how do we spend time with God, trust in God's love, and then allow God to move us beyond our own boundaries? I think today one of our biggest challenges is the incredible amount of migration that's happening around the world. Immigrants aren't just coming across the border in the southern part of the United States. They're coming across numerous borders into numerous countries, looking to be safe, looking for a better life. And even peoples that you would think, because they're neighbors, would try to work together to make things better, and it doesn't work that way. And I think as Christians, one of our greatest calls is to do what Peter and Cornelius did. They listened to the Holy Spirit. They opened their hearts and they opened their minds to move beyond and to become something more. So it comes down to this. Attune yourself to God, since God is love. Everyone, everything in you that is love comes from God. And whenever love, and whenever you love, you are in harmony with God.